Hey everybody, welcome to TAOTalks. This is Smith tuning into season 2, episode 6. This week or this month, I think. This month we what do we talk about, Jesse? We were talking about like sickness and stuff, and then
You settling in, you and your wife settling into your new home, dealing with a little bit of illness, vacation, traveling, talked about exercise, fitness routines, especially in
yeah,
transition. And then we got into my Substack and the book and content and blogs and stuff that I'm writing.
yeah. I think it's gonna be a good one for y'all to watch. So enjoy it, and if you enjoy it, like, subscribe, and comment. Give us your feedback. Thanks.
This is TAOTalks. T-A-O. The art of Tao. TAOTalks. The art of exploring life. TAOTalks. The art of being. TAOTalks. Philosophical musing. TAOTalks. Ancient wisdom for modern beings. TAOTalks. The art of understanding. TAOTalks. Universal laws. TAOTalks. Timeless insights. Welcome to TAOTalks. T-A-O. The art of.
Hey Jesse, how's it going?
It's going great, man. Summertime in Texas. How are you?
Allergies. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. Allergies or some kind of sickness, something, but a lot of sniffling and coughing that's been here. And it's really strange for me because I usually experience this in like other seasons other than summer, like fall or nearing winter. And it's like, okay, yeah, like temperatures are changing, cool. I could get it. Nah, in the middle of summer, I don't know what's going on. I can't really put a pin on it, but that's what I'm dealing with. It's been like more than a week now, so really hoping for that silver lining here at the end of the tunnel.
Well, hopefully it's just simply a combination of allergies or some kind of late midsummer cold. How has the move been? Looking at the space that you have, it looks fantastic. The last time we were on here, there were
Stuff
blank
was on the
walls.
floor. Yeah, stuff was on the floor. It's good. It's going good. We feel settled for sure. Yeah, I think it's like it's less than 2 months in now, and it feels like it hasn't taken that long for us to get settled here, and feels like we're actually pretty good at it. Because I don't know, I talk to other people at work and stuff, and the general census is like, oh, like for 6 months we still have unpacked boxes and stuff, and I was like, not here, not in our family. Like we were less than a month in, or we were like kind of done with all the boxes because we couldn't handle seeing the boxes like in the space. I guess we also don't have a ton of stuff, so whatever we do have, we kind of need. So we needed like I remember me and we were just like we were tired of like digging through the boxes to look for stuff. I'm like, oh my God, like we need space to put this stuff in. We need that. Like we were just driving because of that. Yeah. There's like some kind of wildfire smoke happening. So a couple of days ago, for a couple of days, we've had like this foggy situation happen outside. Just starting to see blue skies today.
Did the fog was the the cold
Symptoms?
was that before the
I've had it.
fires?
Yeah. I've had it
Okay,
before that.
that would
Yeah. So
yeah.
hasn't helped. So I'm not going outside too much, wearing masks, all these things. But, we were actually this on the 20th is like our 20th year anniversary that my family came to the United States.
Wow.
And so my parents were like, oh, like, hey, if you're not doing much, like, I'd love for you guys to come and we can do something. We'll go like whale watching or something and celebrate. And doesn't look like we're gonna go because we want to just rest and we don't feel fully like recovered. And if it is spreadable, we don't want to spread stuff either. But that's a huge milestone that I have yet to actually like even get a grasp over. But yeah, man, 20 years that I've been in the country. It's kind of insane. There's been a mountain of changes that has happened for me, of course. I came in as a 13-year-old and So, and then of course for my family too. It kind of feels surreal to be like nearish them as well. And it's just like, oh, like couldn't have predicted this, but it's amazing.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations to you and your family. That's I mean, it's interesting. I feel a sense of pride in that for you. Like that, I feel like I have this interesting duality growing up in this country. You know, being native born.
It's like the story of immigration, you know, like our immigrants here. Like,
right. Well, so
I mean, technically, it's a story of our country.
It's the story of the country. My mom was an immigrant. She came into the country when she was 5. So I guess I feel I have a little connection through that part of the story. My father's side, I think we came in like close to the 1600s, 1700s. But even with that, like growing up, I grew up with political parents who were politically to the left and very extreme to the left. So the story of the country from the immigrant perspective was something that I kind of felt strong was a strong part of the story that I grew up with, which created kind of a duality within me. Really, I grew up with a lot of, I'd say, almost anti-patriotism. I had a lot of anger at the country, largely due to how the country treats immigrants. But when you're talking about the political left, it tends to be just one half of the immigrant story. It's not the full immigrant story. And when I went into joined the Navy and was in the military and got kind of like this interesting dose of patriotism, in which I saw this other side of the country, of being a part of this country, in which I saw something that was really beautiful and really amazing. All of that, like now that I'm older, is kind of like a little bit more integrated. So the things that I love about this country, about what the country represents, even if it doesn't always deliver, is your story. So that gives me a lot of source of pride in this country, knowing that stories like you get to have that story. And again, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's definitely lived up to the promises that it has, in terms of, many times people think that like American dream is like a propaganda, and like maybe it is and maybe it isn't, because like I know my life and my story would not be the same had it not been for that one move 20 years ago.
Have you ever thought about what it would have looked like?
Honestly, don't. I think that my association with that is like not good. So like it's maybe a little bit of trauma related, because of the stage that I was in when I left India. Basically, like the scene is like I was getting towards the grade where the exam scores matter like quite a lot in terms of determining what you're going to be doing and how your lifestyle is going to be. And I barely just escaped that, right? And so I was already getting to that point where it's like, oh man, like A students, but I can't keep up with that for whatever reasons, and I'm already in the C or D category. And next year, if I'm still here and I got to take this exam, that means like something is going to have to change in terms of what I'm going to be doing for life. And I don't know what that is. And so it was just like, it was kind of like approaching the doomsday. And right before that, I was like, oh, I got this lottery ticket. Like I get to be here now. So now that I think about how life would be like in India, it's like most of my relationship is like, oh, like it was just going to be trash. Like it's going to be like I'm probably barely making my ends meet. It was sure as hell not going to look like what it looks like here. Like that's what I feel like for sure.
I can imagine that the educational route would have been a lot harder to achieve in India than it was in the United States. So your opportunities to get higher level of education, and then for that to how that would affect you economically, like, you know, the infinite potentials. It's possible, like you're a successful
It's very
person in this
finite.
country.
Yeah.
It's possible that you would have found success in India. It would have looked different, but it probably would not have been had an academic standpoint to it. It probably would have had a lot of. It would have just had to be different because the system. Um, yeah, it's an interesting. It's an interesting thought pro, experiment.
Practice. Yeah.
Because I mean, I do that. I do that. I have I have one of those moments in my life where my life got, that one choice that somebody made. I can go back and be like, well, what if that choice was different, and in my entire life would have looked differently. And
Yeah.
so I play that game quite often. And every time I do, I still come back to um, I would choose this life. I would always choose this life, even if I saw possible better things in that other one. It's like, I really appreciate, the life that I've had and where I'm at. So I like it as a thought experiment. I don't do it necessarily to, um, fantasize about the things that I don't have and didn't get, and how miserable I am. It's more a matter of, no, I do it because it actually brings me a tremendous amount of gratitude for where I'm at.
Yeah. I think like for me, most of it is like, it's not that I've, I can't even fantasize about the alternative life. I think this is the fantasy here that I get to live. And so live. And so therefore I think the place that you find yourself in, like of gratitude of the life that you have now, like I feel the same way as well, because to me, this is my fantasy and my dream world for sure. Yeah, but that's what's going on here on my end. July, um, sickness, summer. We want to do a lot more stuff outdoors, trying to like get into like running and things like that as well. Still haven't found routine into like exercising routinely. So trying to really figure that out, kind of beating myself up a little bit over that. But
Do you have a bicycle?
no, yeah. So I hadn't ran in a little while. So I got running shoes now. So, cause there's like a river walk thing that's pretty nice that I can just like access pretty nicely. And then there's actually tennis ball, like tennis courts nearby as well. So I've been thinking about doing like pickleball or tennis or something like that as well. Of course, I want to be climbing a lot more too. Um, but just haven't gotten in the rhythm of that. Like, and I think that's probably going to look differently than how it was before. And like, I'm just catching it right now that I probably am beating myself forward because I want it to look like what it was before, but it's just not going to happen. So I got to come back to the present moment and, um, just explore what this new looks like.
You so you move like you moved 2 months ago. You were there a little bit longer, but you really can't count that other time because you were in a temporary space. Now you're in your
Yeah.
more, and so now and then it took like at least 3 to 6 months to really settle, because it's the first 2 to 3 months that you're unpacking stuff. And in that, like, you're making multiple trips to the grocery store and the hardware store, sometimes all in
Yeah.
the same day, because everything's chaos. And then as things get, you kind of figure stuff out, like a rhythm and a schedule comes. So the fitness routine is a pretty obvious one that's going to drop
Take a
off.
toll.
Right. So this is one of those good little places where it's like, when you look at it pragmatically, logically, and you go, no, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, but yet I have these feelings that I'm where I'm beating myself up. And you can go, well, my feelings are not they're not actually, they don't jive with reality. All right, so I just gotta let that stuff go. Although the feelings are also trying to, they're a signal to something. So it's like, I got to let the feelings go. It doesn't mean beat myself up over this, but I do have a problem to solve. Right. I got to like, what's the solution? What's the solution to what I was doing, and how do I make it happen? The reason I was asking about the bicycle, is I'm always looking at like, I think the more tools you have creates more opportunities to do things. If all I got is one thing, if all I got is walking and running, that's great when it's beautiful out. That's great most days that I'm feeling good enough to go out and walk and run. But, I've done it 5 days in a row and I might get bored, and boredom can create little tricks where in our body where
Resistance.
we resist it and we avoid and we start avoiding it. But if we have other options, I can get on my bike, and what I do is I give myself permission for it to be very short. Like I can get on my, I'm 10 minutes. I can ride on my bike. I can basically go stay in my neighborhood and never actually like ride on a main road and just stay on a sidewalk and come right back and do all that within, I got a 10-minute distance I can go. I got a 20-minute distance I can go, and I got a 30-minute distance I can go. And on any given day, I don't necessarily determine which distance I'm going to do. I just get on my bike and I'm only going to do the 10 minutes. And if I'm feeling good, then I might go longer or I might go shorter, but at least it gets me started.
Yeah.
And then if I have multiple things, and on any given day that my brain might be resistant to one, I can very quickly shift to the other. And the next question as far as having a bike is, do you have safe bikeable roads? If you don't have that, then I would scratch the bike.
Yeah.
But if you have decent roads, then like a bicycle is a great option, because it allows you to go further than when you run, which I think would actually appeal to your brain. It allows you to explore more. So it can be like a sense of exploration. Running's great that way too. I can't run. I wish I could. And if I I would definitely do that a lot more as well.
Now, there's like an added layer to this that like is kind of coming up to me, and I want to share here as well. Is that I have a sense of pride in like the weight that I have, because I've always been like a lightweight, and then so I've like worked extremely hard to like gain weight, and then it seems to be the thing that for me, like when I'm stressed or like whenever I'm going through like life changing events like this, like I tend to like lose weight, and so like I lost like maybe 15 to 20 pounds. And I'm just like, oh man, come on. Like I worked so hard to like get those. And now I have to like, now I get to like, bring those back. And I have certain feelings like when I'm running and stuff, I'm like, oh man, like this is a good reset point that I get to like maybe build muscles and like bring that kind of weight up. But there's still that defeat like feeling that I do feel. It's like, oh man, like I lost all this weight. And now I gotta like work hard at putting it back on. And I know this is like not the most, like it feels like an edge case or something. And like a lot of people like talk about the opposite factor that happens for people and stuff like that. But in terms of like how I relate to it and my feelings to it, in a way, it's the same. It's basically, it's like something that you take pride in, and then you lose, you see the change in it, and it feels like a loss to you. Yeah.
Perception of loss. I mean, I've been in great shape, and then I got injured, and I haven't been able to train for 6 weeks. I could
Right.
I could gain weight, but I'm also losing conditioning. So the big thing is I'm losing the fitness and conditioning that I had worked so hard for, as a perception. And that perception can trigger shame, self judgment, worthiness, all those the whole gamut. Um, so I consider it in the same. We're talking about the same emotional system, whether it's somebody who's trying to lose weight or somebody who's trying to gain weight. It's about body image, it's about perception, and it's about trying to achieve the goals that we think are meaningful and important. And again, with all things, there's the emotional experience, how it feels, and then there's the actual reality. Losing 20 pounds is a significant amount of weight. But when we're losing weight, a significant amount of that weight is going to be water. There's going to be a significant amount of that that's going to be, body fat. The you'll lose a little muscle mass and other types of tissues as well, but the greater percentage of what that loss is are actually things that will come back fairly quickly. That it's not really a true loss. Body fat and water are kind of like those are easy to put back on. So if that's what the weight was, then you didn't really lose as much in the conditioning portion as you may perceive.
Yeah.
And that's
I think that's the part that I was able to see, because in the conditioning, like when even though I may not have ran for like, a year plus, like when I got back on it, I'm like, oh, cool. Like I could do this. Like I'm not losing breath over it too much. If anything, I actually feel really good, running at the moment, maybe lighter because I'm lighter or something. And I think that's the window of like a glimpse of hope that I feel for myself, of like now I get to like rebuild in a different way, because your body composition changes a lot too, whether if events like this happen or if with age or whatever, and we're constantly going to be rebuilding. And so this is just another way of like another opportunity that I get to rebuild.
Right. I mean, your body composition changes depending on whether it's winter, whether it's summer. Definitely every year as you get older, it's changing constantly based on the types of stresses that you're putting it under at any given time. It's changing. So that's just always kind of in effect. I want to add a little bit more to the exercise stuff, because that I think can be helpful, especially in times of transition. I think getting into a schedule is really beneficial. Like, I want to go climb, and all of a sudden I get climbing. I figure out what days of the week and what time, and I get climbing in 1 or 2 days a week. And I got my running, and I got my schedule of when I run, and maybe I go to the gym and just do weights, some kind of strength training. That's important, but that takes time from where you're at to build out, because you're in that transition. So what you can do in the interim that helps to maintain fitness and is actually a really good supplement. I don't think the structured stuff is really enough. Most people that have a really good structured workout fitness regime aren't doing enough. They may be doing a lot, but they tend to structure it, and then the things that they need to do, recovery and otherwise, don't make it on the list, because those are things that don't really work as well in a structured way. The recovery stuff kind of needs to be less structured. More structured you make it, the more stressful it is. So it just doesn't have the same benefits if it's not unstructured. So there has to be some unstructured fitness in there as well. And that generally is a lot easier to make in the sense of the recovery, the mobility work. But you can also fit in strength stuff. You can set timers to that. I'm going to do 50 push-ups a day, but I'm going to do it in like 5 to 10 push-up increments. Or I'll do as many as I can. I'll do some warm-up ones early, and then I'm going to do a set where I just do as many as I can on any given day and try to max. And I'll do squats and lunges, and I have kettlebells, and I have clubs, and I have other things that I don't have to do a workout, but every once in a while I'll pick them up and I'll play with them, because that I did it today. I got a kettlebell over here that I've been kind of doing my little shoulder and thoracic mobility work with it. It's a heavy bell. So it also feels like I'm getting some strength work into it. And I'm not doing it for the purpose of bulking up, but every little bit contributes. Every little bit accumulates into the whole. And so having those little outlets of, I'm just going to do this for a minute. I don't have to make it this big thing that fits into a time slot. And the more of those things I can fit in throughout the day as a supplement means that the days that I don't make it to the gym, I don't make it to go run, or I don't make it to go do those other things, don't impact me quite in the way that it feel quite as negative, because I'm getting these other fitness things in as well.
Yeah, and it sounds like something that like I can also treat it as like a gamifying something.
100%, absolutely.
Like,
The more
like one day the push-up challenge is like it's different, but the next day it could be a different one.
Yeah,
and
You can,
Yeah.
and there's multiple ways to gamify it. Multiple, and there's even apps for the phone that you can that have like that encourage these kinds of gamifications.
Mhm,
You
mhm,
can have things that like you don't get access to your favorite app unless you do. I have one on my phone that I think it's Clear Space or something like that that actually has a camera and it will count your squats and count your push-ups. And for it'll give you the option of like gives you a certain amount of minutes that you can then go and play on your games or your
mhm.
hidden things that you're not allowed to be on their phone. It'll give you access for short amounts of time, so you have to earn it. I like the more playful it is. I think the more easy it is to stick with
Mhm. Yeah.
for most people. I think
I am like eager to put our monkey bars up.
that'll
It's
help.
part of the move as well. Like I like looked at it. I'm like, man, I don't know. It might be going like I might be having like electric wires going through it and stuff. So like, I just haven't done that, but I'm eager to put them up as well. In the house. But yeah, I think that's really helpful. Like the tools too, because you talk about bike and stuff. It's like maybe just having more tools, um, to just have fun with it. So it doesn't become like this. Man, I'm not doing an hour of workout every day kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I like flipping it all upside down to where so that the hour workout actually feels like dessert and not work. It's
Hmm.
like because I do so much other stuff. It's like I'm getting my work in now. I get to go work. I get to go grind for an hour. Oh, that sounds awesome. I'm ready to go do that.
Hmm. Yeah.
But when it's then I got to grind every day for an hour. Oh, I just want to go play. Like it. I want to flip it in my own
Hmm.
in the way my body perceives it because it just I'm more likely to be engaged. I'm more likely to engage in it. And that's not everybody. Some people really do work better with more structure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just you know I have a stationary bicycle right here. I rarely ever get on, but I have a regular bicycle. I can go outside. That works for me really, really well. I know a lot of people that love the stationary bike, even if they have access to outdoor stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That's nice. The main stuff is that like it's like a summer activity stuff. That sounds amazing to kind of have a change of pace from Texas scenery as well.
To go to Maine, so my partner Lorna she's from Maine. Her mom still lives in Maine, so she goes up to Maine every year and she spends about a month there.
Hmm.
Um, and so for the past 3 years, I've been going to Maine with her. I'm not able to stay for a full month, but I'm working my way up to being able to go and stay longer and longer. Um, so it's a little bit, yeah, it's definitely
It's
it's
always a summer thing,
vacation.
right? Yeah.
It's a summer thing,
Yeah.
which is great because I made a point to never complain about the heat living in Austin. Um, but that doesn't mean that it's not nice to get out of the heat when you
Hmm.
have an opportunity.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, it I I spent most of my life not doing vacations. Being minimalist minded and um, not somebody focused on um, work for the purpose of like gaining status and wealth. Meaning that I've always kind of like been living paycheck to paycheck, not quite paycheck to paycheck, but not not somebody who like, oh, I can afford to go do a vacation every year. I can afford to take 3 weeks off and go travel. Like that was just never really um, economically a part of the lifestyle that I had up until more recently, these past few years. So it's interesting because I haven't had a relationship with the idea of what a vacation means, like having time off and that slowdown.
Hmm.
And really, anytime I would kind of go on vacation in the past, I generally would go and do something that was very effortful, so that when I got back, I was more exhausted than I've ever been, and that was something I loved. So going to Maine has been a really a really wonderful kind of like um, new experience. It's slow. It's beautiful. It's green. It's rural.
You're not doing you're not working? Like it's truly like a vacation like that?
I do a little bit of work. So, most of my work right now is focused on writing. So, I take my computer and I get to do a little bit of work, but, it's a lot harder. Again, cause I'm not in my normal area, and for
Element. Yeah.
my element, and,
Yeah.
for me to be able to like get good writing done, I kind of like, I can go find a coffee shop and get some good work done. Um, but it's mostly vacation. Also, when I write, I don't really consider that work. So, like, I am working, but that's
I
vacation. Like, if I get
yeah,
to go
yeah.
write, like, that's a vacation too. So,
Yeah.
um,
I guess I
but
just meant like from like it is like a change in pace compared to what your day to day looks like back in Austin. Is it or is it not? I that's what I'm asking.
man, it's so much. Like, just for the nervous system level, this is something I notice every time I go on a vacation to somewhere where slowing down you have to slow down, because that's just the pace of where you are. When I, in Austin, driving is where I notice it the most. Because people drive here, there's an aggressiveness to how people drive, because everybody's in a hurry. Everybody's in a hurry. And you're in my way. I'm in a hurry, and the person in front of me is in my way. Right? And you can feel it. Like, you can feel it from the people behind you. They're constantly like, they're on your tail. They drive a
Yeah.
little tighter because they're in a hurry and you're in their way. And I go to Maine, and it's a single lane road. Pretty much everywhere. There's patches of the highway that get up to 55 miles an hour, but rarely ever is it ever more than like a mile to 3 miles that you get to be at that speed before you're slowing down. And then you're slowing down to 45 because you're getting close to a town. And then you're slowing down to 35 because you're closer to the town. And then you're at 25 while you're in the town. And then you're 35 when you leave the town. Then you're on 45 as you're getting further away from the town. And then you got about 1 to 3 miles at 55 before you do it all again, because there's a new town like every 10 miles. And there's like, you can drive 20 miles and I think maybe see 3 stoplights. So you're not on your brake. You're just going, and everybody's going the same pace because there's only one lane. So you're not driving as if the person in front of you is slowing you down and in your way. You're
not going anywhere. You got to be you're in the back. Yeah.
And when you do that for a few days, you don't realize how your nervous system is slowed down until you get back and you're on the road and you're driving slow and everybody's zipping around you. That's when I notice. That's why I went on vacation. And it's like, oh, that feels good. That felt good to me to know, like, oh, I needed that. I didn't even know how fast I was going. And now, and then like a week and a half later, I'm driving just as fast as everybody else is again.
Yeah.
But I love those pauses. And because of that, like, I might wake up on a Sunday and I get on the road and there's not a lot of cars on the road. And instead of being in a hurry, I just drive slow, because I remember, it's like, oh yeah, I like how that feels sometimes. So that's what it's brought a lot. It's brought that for me, especially going back to visit on a regular basis, seeing the same people, like, now my new extended family. So it's a wonderful experience. It's a wonderful experience. It's a wonderful experience. The family part is a wonderful experience. Because Lorna's got a bigger family than I do, extended family, cousins, and I get to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
And it's like really amazing. And I'm included in it, which is really cool.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. What else is new? You said Substack. Let's talk about that. Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't share that. I thought you were going to do it. I would have thought you would have done it on the blogs on the website. That's what I thought you meant. So
I started on the blogs on the website. And when I started on the website, I need to start writing this stuff. I don't really care if anybody reads it. I just need a place to put it so that I can start formulating it and getting it out there. I think I got like 5-6 blogs in. And at some point it's like, well, nobody's reading it. It's like, well, it's because it's on your website and nobody goes to your website because your website doesn't get pushed out to anybody. And like, that's not how blogs work anymore. It's how they worked years ago, but they don't work that way anymore. So I just doing some research, and I kind of knew that Substack was probably where I needed to be. But Substack basically bills itself as a blogging site that people can then sign up and follow you, and it pushes it out to other people. So
it's kind of like social media, but like for write blogs and writings. Yeah.
Right.
Or
So,
newsletters. Yeah.
you know, I'm writing for the purpose of getting a book out, but the reality is, what's the point of writing a book if nobody reads it? So I'm also writing for the purpose of people reading it, which means that I have to build an audience. So Substack just seemed like the logical move. And it allowed me to very easily transfer all the blogs onto it. And so the link on the Substack is now on my website and replaces my blog link. And from here forward, I'm just going to be posting everything onto Substack. And the two most recent blogs, one is I introduced the pyramid, and I think the best formulation of what articulation of it so far. And I write it as a thesis statement, a master's thesis for the TAOFit method, basically as an argument of what the TAOFit method is. And the first one is the thesis, and it introduces the pyramid and each level of the pyramid. The second blog after that, I think it's the oldest story. And I think I explain a little bit more of the why of the pyramid and the why for the book. And going forward is going to be, each blog is going to be arguing the thesis, a supportive argument for the thesis. It'll probably be a little bit of that, like it's going to be that. Some blogs are going to be, my goal is to write to support the argument, or supportive argument for the thesis in 3 different perspectives. I want one that's written more from a scientific methodology standpoint. Not so much pseudoscience, but like supportive evidence of this is how the body works. These are the things we know about the body. Then another perspective that's more theory. So it's more in the pseudoscience, but still using the things that are supported to support the theory. And then a third perspective that I would say is more from like the spiritual perspective. Now, the spiritual perspective not being religious, I'm not talking about spirituality or religion. I'm talking about what I define as the spiritual layer, which is really more of the spiritual layer is the integration of all the layers. So how the spiritual layer is functioning is represented by the function of all the other layers. If all the layers are working in integration, then your spiritual layer will be integrated. And if your other layers are disintegrated, then you're gonna be your experience of your spiritual level layer is also going to be disintegrated. And so that will be the third perspective, talking about it from that.
That's scientific, pseudoscience. And then this one, yeah, it's not what's left outside of those 2 perspectives. I mean, that's just a completely different perspective. I don't even know if there's like the word. Like, I don't even know if the word spiritual, like,
it's not a good word. It's not a good description. The lived experience of the...
Would it still be supported? Like, it
that's
sounds
the
like
goal.
the third perspective would
so.
still be supported. Like,
so so here's I think if you go and read the pyramid, blog, I define the spiritual, and hopefully I define the spiritual, and I define what I'm doing a little bit better than I think I articulated it here. I think if you, my hope is that, so by defining the more scientific method, I'm really kind of explaining the way we process, how process starts physically and then works up mentally, intellectually, emotionally, and then spiritually. And again, spiritual is kind of the integration of all of them. And where there's area when you get triggered, when you have an emotional trigger that triggers an emotional process, how that trigger impacts at the physical, how it impacts at the mental, intellectual, emotional, and then ultimately the spiritual. So a lot of what I'm doing in the first two perspectives is defining the first four layers. Not so much going into the fifth, that spiritual layer, kind of letting the spiritual layer be defined by how I define these first four. Because again, the spiritual is really the integration of everything. And then that last perspective is kind of like, it's one thing to intellectually know your body is the scientific method, right? When we say these are the processes, and when this happens,
The
this is
liver is
what's going on.
here. Oh, yeah.
That's great information, but how does that help me change what I am feeling and experiencing? So that's one perspective. And then the other one being more theoretical. So we're taking the things that we know, but we're also expanding them theoretically. Like one of the ways I expand theoretically is I want to compare our bodies. It's metaphor. Our bodies are architecture. So I can look at a building or a car that also has architecture, and I can extrapolate scientific truths about these architectural structures, and I can relate them to things that are true in our body in a way that makes sense, so that we have the intellectual understanding, and then we have this more like a metaphorical understanding. And then that third perspective is more trying to explain it from a lived experience. When you feel these things, now this is what that feeling is telling me. It's connecting me to this thing that's happening, physically, and it's also explaining these things that are taking place kind of metaphysically and more metaphorically. If I'm feeling this physically in my body, then I can also know that I am feeling it mentally here, intellectually, emotionally. And so having that third one means that when I'm actually having the feelings, my feeling can now be a trigger to point me to, oh, I understand this in these other ways too. And it gives me something to do, because everything I'm doing in the pyramid is bringing it back to breath. Oh, that was I have a third blog where I talk about breath. And I define breath defined. That one's a good one. That one's a really important one as well. Breath is what integrates everything. That's the integrated process. That's the river that flows through everything, because our breath is what connects us to the autonomic nervous system. And really, it's the autonomic nervous system that flows through everything, but we can flow through everything using our autonomic nervous system with breath.
So there's probably connection to that third perspective you're talking about with breath, right? Like that's what it sounds like.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's like more like breath is like physical, but it's also like metaphysical. Like it has these properties. Yeah.
100%. And that third perspective is kind of
we could look at that, but we could also look at it on a pseudoscience level, but then we can also look at it with neither of those perspectives.
It's kind of at the level of like, here's your lived experience and here's what it feels like, so that when you're feeling it, you have something, you got something you can work with.
Mm-hmm.
My intellectual understanding isn't a feeling. If I get triggered and I'm, when I get an emotional trigger, say somebody says something that upsets me, that trigger is triggering my sympathetic state. It's sending me into some levels. It's sending me more into a heightened sympathetic state, a stress response, a response that is fight or flight response. When that gets triggered, there's a lot of physiological processes that are automatically getting triggered as well that I have no control over. These are just automatic responses. I lose more blood flow to my frontal cortex. That's my long-term thinking, my ability to like think about long future plans and how everything in the future and how what is the decision I'm making right now going to best impact me later. If I don't have that, then now now my ability to see the future and make good decisions based on it is very limited, and I'm making very immediate gratification decisions because that's as far as I can see. My heart rate's going to speed up. My breath is going to speed up. I'm going to feel more anxious. My digestion is going to slow. I might feel a little constipated. It might impact my pelvic floor. I might feel like, a little bit more sense of urgency on I'm a little out of my comfort, which makes it really hard to, again, make good decisions and to function as clearly as I need to. How do I go from that state to being back to a restorative state where I get these functions back? I don't do that by intellectually understanding what's happening to me.
Yeah.
That doesn't get me anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Metaphorically, I don't really get there. What gets me there is slowing down and taking big gulps of breath, because that is what ultimately changes my state at the mental level, because the mental layer is the autonomic layer. It's where all those underlying unconscious processes are taking place. That's the first thing breath is going to start influencing. And as that gets influenced, that opens up my frontal cortex, which brings back online my intellectual. It also helps to flush the chemicals of emotion that are going through my body, that I'm feeling at a vibrational level in every cell of my body. Those chemicals are getting diluted with every breath that I take, so I'm not feeling them as much, which means the feelings pass. So having the tools are what I need. Having the understanding doesn't get me anywhere. And part of having the tools
alone,
is
though, I think, right? I feel like alone, that's what you mean, really. It's like, because you still intellectually want to have, like, I think that's still there, but intellectual alone is not going to do something. Because intellectually, I can see, like, why I still need to be able to intellectually know, like, hey, like, oh, like my heart rate is increased, or like, I am like tensing up or something. And then from that intellect, maybe you get this insight like, oh, I can slow this down by deeper breath. But then you have to do that additional like stuff to then be more at a calibration.
I'd say at this point, yes, you're absolutely right. Having some level of intellectual understanding, the more intellectual understanding we have, I think is beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
But having intellectual understanding alone, is a lot of people intellectually understand it and can't do it.
Right.
And the flip side of that is you can not have a whole lot of intellectual understanding of it, but if you know how to access breath, you still get those results.
Yeah.
So the
you don't
breath
have to
is
understand it or whatever. Like, but if you can somehow get to that state of like, oh, I need to just take a deep breath,
right,
or
so
you just know how to do that. Yeah.
The intellectual understanding is less important depending on the level of intellectual of intellect of the person. Like not intellect
Or
of the
instinctual,
person.
like maybe even like, I don't know.
Instinctual. It's the level in which somebody lives in their head. It's probably the best way to do.
Yeah.
There could be super intellectual people can be very embodied and not spend a lot of time in their head. But if you're somebody who spends a lot of time in your head, and so having an intellectual understanding is actually going to is going to help you, because you spend a lot of time in your head. So you need to intellectually understand it in order to help you get to this other place, which is very, very difficult. But if you don't have this, you're going to be stuck. You can understand it all you want. You're not going to get here. That's at least been, at least the way I kind of experienced it working with people, noticing those things. I focus a lot on the intellectual understanding because I spend a lot of time in my head. Like that's kind of where I exist. But through the work, I got introduced to the more embodied practices, which has given me a bridge to both. So I still teach this a lot. And so the types of clients that I get tend to be clients that are, like you and your wife and a lot of my other clients, that very intellectual people who spend a lot of time in our heads. And that's not a judgment in any way. And that's one of the things I want to make clear is because we come in so many different ways. And not everybody needs to be or should be highly intellectual and spend all their time in the head. We need more heartfelt people. So it's just understanding that we are so different that my type of teaching tends to lean towards this particular type of personality.
Right.
But I also noted there are also people that I don't teach as much to, that this benefits them just as much as all this. If I can teach them a little bit of this, it'll help them more. But the big thing is, if I can get you to breathe, I can change your life, whether you know why I changed your life or not, whether you understand it or not.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
I think this is a good spot.